Poor girl in a wheelchair asks to pay later. What the millionaire does surprises everyone. Before we dive into the story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. The marble floors of Harrison Montgomery's Manhattan penthouse echoed with emptiness as his Italian leather shoes clicked down the hallway. At 49, he commanded Wall Street with an iron fist, but the vastness of his home only emphasized what he lacked. Cancel my dinner with the Japanese investors, Harrison barked into his phone. Double the initial offer instead. His assistant stuttered, an acknowledgement used to these last-minute changes. Harrison ended the call without saying goodbye, sliding the phone into his tailored suit pocket. His reflection stared back from the window glass, distinguished silver at his temples, a sharp jawline, and eyes that had forgotten how to smile. The penthouse sprawled around him, 10,000 square feet of premium real estate filled with expensive furniture, rare art, and absolutely no warmth. No family photos lined the walls. The housekeeper maintained everything in perfect order, but nothing suggested anyone truly lived here. The next morning, Harrison stopped at Westside Cafe for his usual black coffee. The line moved efficiently until it didn't. At the register, a small commotion caught his attention. "I'm sorry, sweetie," the cashier said gently. "This isn't enough." Harrison leaned slightly to see around the businessman in front of him. A young girl in a wheelchair held crumpled dollar bills toward the cashier. Her clothes were clean but worn thin, her brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Most striking was the determined set of her jaw. "Please, ma'am," the girl said, her voice steady despite the flush of embarrassment on her cheeks. "I can bring the rest tomorrow, I promise." The cashier looked pained. Other customers shifted uncomfortably. Something in the girl's dignity, refusing to beg while clearly in need, pierced through Harrison's carefully constructed indifference. "Add her purchase to mine," he heard himself say, stepping forward. The girl turned, her bright blue eyes widening. "You don't have to do that, sir." "I know," Harrison replied, feeling strangely seen under her direct gaze. After paying, Harrison found himself asking, "Where are your parents?" The girl's face clouded. "They died. I'm Lily Parker." She extended her small hand with surprising formality. "Harrison Montgomery," he responded, automatically taking her hand. Outside, rain began falling. Lily glanced anxiously at the downpour, then at her wheelchair. "Do you have somewhere to go?" Harrison asked, already knowing the answer from her. Threadbare jacket and the small backpack hooked on her wheelchair. "I'll be fine," Lily insisted, though her voice wavered. Harrison's driver pulled up in the black town car. The practical thing would be to call social services immediately. Yet something made him hesitate as he looked at Lily's resigned expression. "You'll get soaked," he said. "My home is nearby. You could dry off, get something proper to eat." Lily studied him with a wisdom beyond her years. "Why would you help me?" It was a question Harrison couldn't answer even to himself. He only knew that walking away suddenly seemed impossible. "Because today, you need it," he said simply, opening the car door just until the rain stops. As Lily reluctantly agreed and his driver helped her wheelchair into the car, Harrison Montgomery, feared titan of finance, felt something unfamiliar, a hairline crack in the walls he'd built around his heart. Mrs. Wilson, Harrison's housekeeper, of 15 years, nearly dropped her feather duster when the elevator doors opened to reveal her employer with a child in a wheelchair. "Mr. Montgomery?" she questioned, her Scottish accent thickening in surprise. "This is Lily," Harrison said awkwardly. She needed shelter from the rain. Mrs. Wilson recovered quickly, her professional demeanor returning. "Hello, dearie. Let's get you warmed up." Harrison's penthouse, designed for impressing business associates rather than comfort, suddenly seemed ridiculously impractical. 3 steps led down to the sunken living room. Doorways appeared narrower than he'd ever noticed. The elegant furniture looked untouchable. Perhaps the kitchen would be more accessible, Mrs. Wilson suggested, leading them to the service elevator. In the kitchen's warmth, Lily's shoulders relaxed slightly. Mrs. Wilson bustled about, preparing hot chocolate and sandwiches while Harrison stood uncomfortably, unsure of his role in this unexpected scenario. "Do you live alone in this whole big place?" Lily asked, looking around. "Yes," Harrison replied, then added unnecessarily, "It's convenient for work. It's very—" Lily searched for words. "Shiny." Mrs. Wilson suppressed a smile as she placed food before Lily, who ate with careful restraint despite obvious hunger. "Where have you been staying, Lily?" Harrison asked, dreading the answer. "Different places," she hedged. "Shelters sometimes when there's room." "And your parents?" "Car accident last year." Lily's voice became mechanical, as though reciting practiced lines. "I was at school. That's how I got hurt too. My back and legs. The doctor said I might walk. Again someday with therapy, but—" She shrugged. "Surely there must be relatives," Harrison pressed. "None that wanted me." Lily's matter-of-fact tone made the statement more heartbreaking. Harrison excused himself, retreating to his office. He should call social services immediately. This was not his problem to solve. He made the call, but felt unexpectedly disturbed when informed that Lily would be placed in an emergency group home. "Do you have facilities for children with disabilities?" he found himself asking. "We accommodate all children, sir," came the practiced response, "but resources are limited." After ending the call, Harrison stared at the rain-streaked windows. Returning to the kitchen, he found Mrs. Wilson helping Lily wash up. "Is someone coming to take me away?" Lily asked quietly, seeing his expression. Harrison hesitated. "Not tonight, the storm's getting worse." Mrs. Wilson raised an eyebrow but nodded approvingly. "I'll prepare the guest room." That night, after settling Lily in a bedroom larger than any apartment she'd likely known, Harrison found himself looking at old family photographs he'd stored away years ago. Something about Lily's expressions tugged at his memory. In his own bedroom, Harrison called Catherine Lewis, the city's best family attorney. "I need advice about temporary guardianship," he said, without preamble. "It's complicated." As Harrison explained the situation, he realized he'd already made a decision that would change everything for both of them. "You've done what?" Catherine Lewis's voice crackled through Harrison's phone the next morning. "Temporary custody," Harrison repeated, pacing his office. "Just until proper arrangements can be made." "Harrison, you can't simply take in a child off the street. There are protocols, background checks." "That's why I called you," Harrison interrupted. "Handle the legalities. And I'm hiring Marcus Reed to investigate her background." After ending the call, Harrison found Lily in the kitchen, with Mrs. Wilson, who was ingeniously adapting breakfast preparation to include her new helper. "Good morning," Lily said, her eyes cautious but hopeful. "Mrs. Wilson let me mix the pancake batter." "I see," Harrison replied, surprised by the domestic scene. "Lily, I've arranged for you to stay here temporarily while we sort things out properly." Lily's face remained carefully neutral. How temporary? The question hung in the air, loaded with past disappointments. "I don't know yet," Harrison answered honestly. "But you won't return to the streets. That I promise." Later that morning, Marcus Reed arrived, a compact man with observant eyes who asked Lily gentle questions about her parents, their names, and where they had lived. "James and Rebecca Parker," Lily recited. "We lived in Queens until the accident. While Lily rested in the afternoon, Harrison had his driver take him to his office. He needed normalcy, spreadsheets, acquisitions, the familiar rhythm of making money. "Everything all right, sir?" his assistant asked, noticing his distraction. "Fine," Harrison snapped, then caught himself. "Actually, clear my calendar for tomorrow morning." That evening, Harrison returned with shopping bags. Mrs. Wilson had texted a list of essentials for Lily: clothing, toiletries, and books appropriate for a 9-year-old. "I didn't know what you liked," Harrison said awkwardly, setting the bags before a stunned Lily. She pulled out a soft purple sweater, running her fingers over the fabric with reverence. "This is too much, Mr. Montgomery." "Harrison," he corrected automatically. As Lily explored her gifts, Harrison noticed a small locket around her neck that she frequently touched. "May I see that?" he asked. Hesitantly, Lily opened the locket, revealing a worn photograph of a smiling couple, her parents. Something about the man's face triggered a distant memory in Harrison. Their moment was interrupted when the elevator announced a visitor. Victoria Montgomery, Harrison's niece, strode in without waiting for welcome. "Uncle Harrison, I've been trying to reach you about the Dawson merger." Victoria stopped abruptly, staring at Lily. "Who is this?" she demanded. "Victoria, meet Lily. Parker. She's staying with me temporarily." Victoria's perfectly manicured hand tightened around her designer handbag. At 35, she had positioned herself as Harrison's heir apparent, both professionally and personally. "A word, Uncle?" Privately. In his office, Victoria didn't hide her alarm. "Have you lost your mind? Taking in some random child? Do you have any idea how this looks?" "It's not your concern, Victoria. Everything about you is my concern. I've dedicated my life to Montgomery Investments. I won't let you jeopardize everything with some misguided charity project." Harrison's phone rang. Marcus with preliminary findings. Death certificates confirm James and Rebecca Parker died 14 months ago. Car accident, as she said. After Victoria left, her disapproval hanging in the air like expensive perfume, Harrison found Lily by the window, watching the city lights. "Is your niece angry because of me?" she asked perceptively. "Victoria is protective of our family name," Harrison replied. "I understand," Lily said, her voice suddenly older. "I should probably leave before I cause problems." Harrison felt something protective stir within him. "You're not going anywhere yet, Victoria will adjust." But as Harrison gazed at the photograph in Lily's locket again, a troubling sense of familiarity continued to nag at him. Harrison's phone rang at precisely 7:30 a.m. Marcus Reed never called this early unless the news was significant. "I found something you need to see immediately," Marcus said without preamble. An hour later, Harrison sat in his home office staring at documents spread across his desk, his coffee going cold. James Parker had invested his life savings, including his daughter's medical fund, in Montgomery Strategic Growth Fund. When the market collapsed in 2020, the fund had hemorrhaged value. While technically legal, the fund's risk disclosures had been deliberately minimized. Harrison hadn't personally overseen those disclosures, but his signature was on the regulatory filings. "The Parkers lost everything," Marcus explained. "They were living in their car before the accident. James was working 3 jobs trying to rebuild enough savings for Lily's therapy." Harrison felt physically ill. His company's actions had contributed to the Parkers' desperate circumstances, which indirectly led to their fatal accident as they rushed between jobs. "There's more," Marcus continued hesitantly. "I've been comparing photos. James Parker bears a striking resemblance to—" A commotion from the living room interrupted them. Harrison found Mrs. Wilson confronting 2 police officers while Lily watched wide-eyed from her wheelchair. "Mr. Montgomery?" The taller officer stepped forward. "I'm Detective Ramirez. We need to speak with you regarding allegations of child endangerment and possible kidnapping." "Kidnapping?" Harrison repeated incredulously. "We received a detailed report claiming you've taken custody of a minor without legal authority." "Victoria, it had to be. The child in question is right here," Harrison said evenly. "Ask her if she's being held against her will." "Sir, we need to follow protocol. Social Services has been notified." Mrs. Wilson moved protectively closer to Lily, whose face had gone pale. "My attorney is handling the temporary guardianship paperwork," Harrison explained. "Catherine Lewis, call her." Detective Ramirez stepped aside to make the call while Harrison knelt beside Lily. "Am I going to have to leave?" she whispered. "Not if I can help it," Harrison promised. After a tense 30 minutes, Catherine arrived armed with preliminary paperwork, showing Harrison had initiated proper legal channels. The detectives left, but not before warning that an investigation would continue. "Victoria filed the report," Harrison stated once they were alone. "Almost certainly," Catherine agreed. "Harrison, this won't be the last attack. If you're serious about guardianship, you need to understand what you're facing." "I'm not abandoning her to the system," Harrison said with unexpected fierceness. Catherine studied him. "This isn't like you." Perhaps it should have been, he replied quietly. That evening, as Harrison helped Lily with homework Mrs. Wilson had somehow procured, his phone chimed with news alerts. Montgomery takes child. Philanthropy. Or pathology. Wall Street Titans' strange behavior raises questions. Sources close to Montgomery family express concern. Over mental state, Victoria had gone to the press. Harrison was contemplating his next move when Lily suddenly shivered, her face flushing. "Are you all right?" he asked, concerned. "Just tired," she murmured, but her forehead felt warm to his touch. Harrison called Dr. Bennett, his personal physician, who arrived promptly. After examining Lily, he frowned. "She has a significant fever. Given her condition, I'd like to run some tests." As Dr. Bennett drew blood samples, he looked thoughtfully between Harrison and Lily. "You know," he remarked, "she reminds me of your brother Edward. Something about the eyes." The comment hit Harrison like a physical blow. Edward, his younger brother who had died 5 years ago, after years of estrangement between them, the same brother whose features had nagged at Harrison's memory when he saw James Parker's photograph. Harrison Montgomery, feared Wall Street titan, had faced hostile takeovers and market crashes without flinching. Yet nothing had prepared him for watching a small, feverish child undergo medical tests. "Her immune system is compromised," Dr. Bennett explained in the hallway outside Lily's bedroom, "likely from months of inadequate nutrition and inconsistent medical care." Harrison nodded grimly. "What does she need?" "Rest, proper medication, and stability." Dr. Bennett hesitated. "Harrison, about what I mentioned earlier, the resemblance to Edward." "Not now," Harrison cut him off. After the doctor left, Harrison found 3 urgent messages from his executive team. The company's stock had dropped 7 points following Victoria's media campaign. "Mr. Montgomery," Mrs. Wilson appeared at his office door. "The child is asking for you." Harrison found Lily propped up against pillows, her face flushed with fever but her eyes alert. "Those police officers think you kidnapped me," she stated directly. "Something like that," Harrison admitted. "Why don't you just tell them I was homeless? Then they'll leave you alone." Harrison sat carefully on the edge of the bed. "It's complicated. My niece believes I'm not thinking clearly." "Because of me," Lily concluded. "Rich people don't just take in street kids." "No," Harrison agreed. "They usually don't." "Then why did you?" The question hung between them. Harrison had been asking himself the same thing. "I'm not entirely sure," he answered honestly. "It felt necessary." Lily studied him with those penetrating blue eyes. Edward's eyes, now that he allowed himself to see it. "My dad used to say necessary things aren't always explainable," she offered. The comment struck Harrison deeply. What else had James Parker said that echoed his estranged brother? Morning brought new challenges. Harrison's board had called an emergency meeting. The choice was impossible: attend to protect his company or stay with Lily. Mrs. Wilson provided an unexpected solution. "Bring her." To a board meeting? Harrison was incredulous. Show them the child they're all speculating about. Let them see she's not being mistreated. Remarkably, Lily embraced the idea. "I'll wear my new purple sweater and be on my absolute best behavior." The Montgomery Investments boardroom fell silent as Harrison entered, pushing Lily's wheelchair. Victoria, seated at the far end, nearly dropped her tablet. "Gentlemen, ladies," Harrison began. "I believe recent events require context. This is Lily Parker." Lily smiled politely. "It's a pleasure to meet you all. I apologize for any disruption I've caused to your business." Her composure in facing a room of powerful strangers was remarkable. Several directors visibly softened. Throughout the meeting, Lily sat quietly beside Harrison, occasionally asking whispered questions about financial terms. When Harrison explained a complex market projection, she nodded thoughtfully. "It's like weather forecasting with money," she observed, loud enough for others to hear. Walter Jameson, their most conservative board member, unexpectedly chuckled. The meeting concluded with agreement to issue a statement describing Harrison's actions as temporary guardianship, pending proper placement, neutralizing the kidnapping narrative. As they left, Walter approached them. "She's quite bright." "Yes," Harrison agreed, feeling an unfamiliar surge of pride. "She reminds me of someone," Walter mused, studying Lily. "Can't quite place it." Victoria intercepted them at the elevator. "Quite the performance," she hissed. "But this little charade won't last. The court date for custody evaluation is next week." Returning home, they found Marcus waiting with a folder. "I found employment records. Rebecca Parker worked as Edward's administrative assistant for 6 months before his death." Harrison froze, the pieces beginning to align in a pattern he'd been subconsciously avoiding. Later that night, Lily's fever spiked dangerously high. As Harrison helped Mrs. Wilson cool her burning forehead with damp cloths, he made a silent promise. To the brother he'd failed in life, he would not fail Edward's daughter. Harrison spent hours alone in his rarely used basement storage room, surrounded by dusty boxes labeled Edward. Inside, he found his brother's journals, photographs, and personal effects, a life preserved in cardboard, untouched since Edward's fatal car accident 5 years ago. The brothers had once been close, but Edward's wild lifestyle and Harrison's rigid judgments had created an unbridgeable gulf. Their last conversation had been a bitter argument about responsibility. 3 days later, Edward was dead. A photograph slipped from a journal, a company holiday party. Harrison recognized Rebecca Parker immediately, standing beside Edward, both laughing. She was younger, healthier, but unmistakably Lily's mother. Further, in the journal, an entry caught his eye. "R says I need to grow up, she might be right," finding myself thinking about the future for the first time. The date was 3 months before Edward's death. Harrison's phone rang. Mrs. Wilson. "Sir, you need to come upstairs. Victoria is here with social workers." Upstairs, he found Victoria standing in his living room with 2 officials. Lily sat in her wheelchair, her face pale but composed. "Mr. Montgomery," the older woman began. "I'm Claire Dawson from Child Protective Services. We're conducting a welfare check based on concerns raised about Lily's situation." "My niece's concerns," Harrison clarified coldly. Victoria stepped forward. "Uncle Harrison, this is for your own good. Your behavior has become erratic. The board is concerned. Your investors are concerned." "My investments are doing just fine," Harrison countered. "These delusions of playing family," Victoria gestured toward Lily, "are jeopardizing everything you've built," Claire intervened. "Mr. Montgomery, we just need to evaluate Lily's living conditions and well-being." Harrison nodded stiffly. "By all means." The inspection was thorough. Mrs. Wilson proudly showed them Lily's room, now equipped with accessibility features Harrison had installed. Lily answered questions calmly, though Harrison noticed her increasing exhaustion. "She has a fever," Harrison explained. "Dr. Bennett is monitoring her condition." When the officials finally left, apparently satisfied, Victoria remained. "You've always been cold, calculating, and brilliant," she said. "That's why I respected you. Now you're throwing everything away for what, some random child's sob story?" "She's not random," Harrison replied quietly. Victoria's eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" Before Harrison could respond, they heard a crash from Lily's room. They rushed in to find her collapsed on the floor, having attempted to reach the bathroom alone. "Call Dr. Bennett," Harrison shouted, gathering Lily's frighteningly light body in his arms. Within the hour, Lily was admitted to the hospital. Dr. Bennett emerged from her room with a grave expression. "She needs a blood transfusion immediately. Her blood type is rare, B negative with a specific antigen profile." "Test me," Harrison demanded. "Harrison?" Dr. Bennett hesitated. "There's something else. I ran a preliminary DNA comparison based on the blood samples I took earlier. And? The results strongly suggest you and Lily share genetics consistent with being related. Not parent-child, but close. Uncle-niece would fit the pattern." The confirmation of what Harrison had begun to suspect hit him like a physical blow. "Edward," he whispered. "It appears so," Dr. Bennett confirmed. "And Harrison, we need to move quickly. She's significantly worse than I initially thought. Whatever decision you're making about telling her, it might need to happen soon." As Dr. Bennett left to prepare the transfusion, Harrison stood at the window of Lily's hospital room. The child lying there, his brother's daughter, his niece, looked impossibly small against the white sheets. Victoria appeared at his shoulder. "Is it true? She's Edward's?" "Yes," Harrison said simply. "That changes everything," Victoria murmured, her calculating mind already adjusting to this new reality. "No," Harrison corrected her. "It changes nothing. She was already someone who needed help. Now she's family who needs help." For the first time in his adult life, Harrison Montgomery knew with absolute certainty that he was exactly where he needed to be. The hospital room was quiet except for the steady beep of monitors. Harrison sat beside Lily's bed, her small hand clasped in his. The blood transfusion, his blood, had stabilized her condition, but she remained pale and fragile. Dr. Bennett entered with a tablet displaying test results. "The DNA comparison is conclusive. Lily is indeed Edward's daughter." Harrison nodded, the confirmation merely cementing what his heart already knew. "How could I have missed it?" he whispered. "The eyes, the way she analyzes things." "When will you tell her?" Dr. Bennett asked gently. "When she wakes," Harrison replied. "No more secrets." Alone again with Lily, Harrison studied her face, seeing Edward in every feature. His mind raced through memories. Edward's rebellious spirit, his laughter, their final bitter argument. "I'm sorry," Harrison whispered to his unconscious niece. "I failed your father. I won't fail you." Marcus arrived with a worn leather journal. "Found it in Rebecca Parker's storage unit. You should read it." The journal revealed the story. Rebecca and Edward's relationship, her discovery of pregnancy after his death, her decision to raise Lily alone rather than approach the intimidating Montgomery family. One entry pierced Harrison's heart. "James is a good man who loves Lily as his own. We never speak of her biological father, but sometimes when she smiles, Edward's ghost is in the room with us." Hours later, Lily's eyelids fluttered open. "Harrison?" she murmured. "I'm here," he assured her, pressing the nurse call button. "Am I very sick?" she asked. "You were," Harrison explained, "but you're getting better. We match. Our blood." Confusion crossed Lily's face. "How?" Harrison took a deep breath. "Lily, I've discovered something important. My brother Edward, he was your biological father." Lily's eyes widened, processing this revelation. "You're my uncle?" "Yes." "Is that why you helped me? Because somehow you knew?" "No," Harrison said truthfully. "I helped you because you needed it. Finding out we're family, that's a gift I never expected." Tears filled Lily's eyes. "My mom never told me about my real father." "She must have had her reasons," Harrison said gently. "But I found her journal. She wrote that she loved him, and that he would have loved you very much." Victoria appeared in the doorway, her expression unreadable. Seeing Lily awake, she hesitated. "Come in, Victoria," Harrison said. "Meet your cousin properly." Victoria approached cautiously. "Hello, Lily." "Are you still mad that I'm staying with Harrison?" Lily asked directly. A flicker of shame crossed Victoria's face. "I was protecting our family legacy." "I am your family legacy," Lily replied with quiet dignity. Something shifted in Victoria's expression. Recognition, perhaps, of a Montgomery trait in this child's unflinching directness. "Yes," she conceded. "It appears you are." That evening, as Lily slept peacefully, Harrison stood in the hospital corridor with Catherine. "I want to file for permanent guardianship," he stated. "As her uncle, her blood relative, her family." Catherine nodded. The blood relation strengthens your case, considerably. But Victoria's actions have created complications. Victoria won't be a problem anymore, Harrison said with certainty. She understands what's at stake now. Harrison Montgomery had spent his life building financial empires. Now, watching over his brother's sleeping daughter, he recognized his most important construction project was just beginning, rebuilding a family from the fragments of the past. "What color would you prefer for your room?" Harrison asked, showing Lily paint samples as she sat propped up in her hospital bed. 3 days after the transfusion, her condition had improved dramatically. "I get to choose?" Lily seemed bewildered by the concept. "Of course. It's your room now. Permanently." Lily's fingers hovered over the blues and purples. "This one," she finally decided, selecting a soft lavender. It was Mom's favorite color. Harrison nodded, making a note. Architects had already begun transforming, his penthouse installing ramps, widening doorways, and redesigning the bathroom for accessibility. "The contractors start tomorrow," Harrison explained. "Mrs. Wilson is supervising everything." Dr. Bennett entered with discharge papers. "Remember, she needs rest, proper nutrition, and regular therapy appointments." "Already arranged," Harrison confirmed. A physical therapist would visit daily, and he'd hired a tutor until Lily could attend school. Catherine arrived as they were preparing to leave. "Good news," she announced. "Judge Williams has granted an expedited hearing for permanent guardianship, given the family relationship." "When?" Harrison asked. "Next Thursday." Lily looked up anxiously. "What if they say no?" Harrison squeezed her hand. "They won't." At home, they found Mrs. Wilson had transformed Harrison's sterile living room with soft throws, cushions, and framed photographs of Edward that Harrison had unearthed from storage. "I thought the last should see her father," Mrs. Wilson explained. Lily wheeled herself to a photo of Edward sailing, his laugh captured mid-wind, head thrown back, so alive. "He looks happy," she said softly. "He was when he was on the water," Harrison replied. "He loved freedom." "Like me," Lily observed. "I feel freest when I'm reading or drawing, like I can go anywhere." That evening, Victoria arrived unexpectedly, carrying a large portfolio. Harrison tensed, prepared for another confrontation. "This isn't an ambush," Victoria assured him. To Lily, she said, "I found these in the company archives. Your father, Edward, designed buildings before he left. Architecture for other pursuits." Lily opened the portfolio with reverent fingers, discovering Edward's sketches and blueprints. "He created things," she whispered in awe. "He was brilliant," Victoria acknowledged. "Undisciplined, but brilliant." As Lily explored her father's work, Victoria drew Harrison aside. "I've withdrawn my opposition to the guardianship," she stated clinically. "And I've issued a statement to the press clarifying that Lily is Edward's daughter and rightfully part of the Montgomery family." Harrison studied his niece suspiciously. "Why the change of heart?" Victoria hesitated, uncharacteristically vulnerable. "Edward was the only person who ever treated me like I mattered for something besides my Montgomery name. He was kind to me, when you were not." Seeing his daughter, she glanced at Lily. "It's like having a piece of him back." Later, after Victoria left, Harrison found Lily attempting to sketch, mimicking Edward's architectural style. "I want to build things, too," she announced. "Buildings that people in wheelchairs can move through easily." Harrison examined her surprisingly sophisticated drawing. "You've inherited his talent." "And what did I inherit from you?" Lily asked unexpectedly. The question caught Harrison off guard. "From me? You're my uncle. We share blood. There must be something." Harrison considered this. "Perhaps determination." Edward called it stubbornness. Lily smiled, that radiant smile that transformed her face, and Harrison saw his brother so clearly, it ached. "Family is complicated," she observed wisely. "Yes," Harrison agreed. "But worth fighting for." That night, reviewing guardianship papers with Catherine, Harrison realized he wasn't just gaining a ward, He was reclaiming the family he'd nearly lost through years of emotional isolation. Lily Edward was giving him a second chance. The Montgomery name commanded respect everywhere in New York, except apparently in family court. Harrison sat rigidly on an uncomfortable wooden bench, surrounded by anxious families awaiting their own hearings. Catherine reviewed documents beside him while Lily, dressed in a new blue dress, fidgeted nervously with her locket. "Remember," Catherine whispered, "let me do most of the talking. Judge Williams is known for being thorough, especially with high-profile cases." Harrison nodded, adjusting his tie. In 20 years of business, he'd never felt such anxiety before any meeting. "Montgomery guardianship case," the clerk called. Inside the courtroom, Harrison was surprised to see Victoria already seated in the gallery. She nodded slightly, her presence unexpectedly reassuring. Judge Williams, a stern-faced woman with silver hair, studied them over reading glasses. "Quite the media circus surrounding this case, Ms. Lewis." "Unfortunately, Your Honor," Catherine agreed. "But at its heart, this is simply about a child finding her family." The proceedings began methodically, evidence of Lily's parentage, Harrison's financial stability, the home modifications completed for Lily's accessibility needs. The court-appointed guardian ad litem testified next. "Mr. Montgomery has made remarkable adjustments to accommodate Lily's needs. However, I must note his work schedule has historically been demanding. 60-plus-hour weeks are concerning for a guardian." Harrison leaned forward. "May I address that concern, Your Honor?" The judge nodded. "I've restructured my leadership role at Montgomery Investments. I now work primarily from home 3 days, weekly, and I've hired a COO to manage daily operations." "That represents a significant change in your professional life," the judge observed. "Lily represents a significant change in my personal life," Harrison replied simply. "Priorities adjust. Accordingly, Lily's physical therapist testified about her progress. She's showing remarkable improvement. With consistent therapy, there's real potential for partial mobility recovery." "And who accompanies Lily to these sessions?" the judge inquired. "Mr. Montgomery has never missed one," the therapist confirmed. When Lily's turn came to speak privately with the judge in chambers, Harrison squeezed her hand encouragingly. 20 minutes later, they returned. Lily was smiling. "Having reviewed all evidence and testimony," Judge Williams began, "I find it in the best interest of Lily Parker to grant permanent guardianship to Harrison Montgomery, with the following conditions: continued physical therapy, psychological counseling to address grief and adjustment, and quarterly progress reports for the first year." Harrison exhaled slowly, emotion threatening to overwhelm his carefully maintained composure. "Congratulations," the judge concluded. Court adjourned. Outside, Victoria approached them. "Well done, Uncle Harrison." "Thank you for coming," he said, genuinely appreciative. "I brought something," Victoria said, handing Lily a small package. Inside was a silver frame containing a photo of Edward holding infant Victoria. "He was my guardian too for a while," Victoria explained quietly. "After my parents died. He wasn't perfect, but he made sure I knew I was loved." Lily studied the photo, then looked up at Victoria with new understanding. "We're both his girls." Something softened in Victoria's expression. "Yes, I suppose we are." That evening, Harrison found Lily in her newly renovated room arranging photos. Her parents, Edward, even one of Harrison from a recent newspaper article announcing Montgomery Investments' new community development initiative. "Creating your family wall?" he asked. "I never thought I'd have this many pictures to put up," Lily said, "or this many people who belong to me." Harrison nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. After decades of isolation, he too was rediscovering what it meant to belong to someone. "We're going to be okay, aren't we?" Lily asked, suddenly, seeking reassurance. "More than okay," Harrison promised. "We're going to be family." "Mr. Montgomery, while Lily's academic abilities are impressive, she seems hesitant to engage with other students." Harrison shifted uncomfortably in the child-sized Chair across from Ms. Patel, Lily's new teacher at Westbrook Academy. Parent-teacher conferences were uncharted territory. She's adjusting to significant changes, Harrison defended. Of course, Ms. Patel agreed, but school is about more than academics. Lily needs friendships, social connections. Harrison nodded, recalling how Lily had been quiet after her first week at the prestigious school. The other children came from privileged backgrounds, with conventional families and without Lily's physical challenges. "What do you suggest?" he asked, humbling himself to seek advice, something the old Harrison Montgomery would never have done. "Our annual STEM fair is next week. Lily mentioned your brother was an architect, perhaps a project connecting to that legacy?" Later, Harrison found Lily in her room studying advanced mathematics far beyond her grade level. "How's the homework?" he asked, sitting on the edge of her bed. "Easy," she replied, not looking up. "Ms. Patel thinks you're not making friends." Lily's pencil stopped. "The other kids have normal families, normal bodies." "Normal is overrated," Harrison said, "but connection matters, even I've learned that." He told her about the STEM fair, watching her expression carefully. "I could design an accessible playhouse," she suggested, eyes lighting up. "Using Dad's architectural principles. We could work on it together," Harrison offered. That weekend, they spread materials across the dining table, which had never hosted such creative chaos before. Harrison found himself enjoying the precision of scale models, while Lily sketched innovative accessibility features. Victoria arrived unexpectedly, raising an eyebrow at the uncharacteristic mess. "The Montgomery boardroom has relocated, I see," she remarked. "STEM fair project," Harrison explained. "Wanna help?" Victoria hesitated, then set down her designer handbag. Edward would never believe this scene. "Which part?" Harrison asked. "Me with glue in my hair, or you about to get marker on your Armani suit?" Victoria smiled, a rare, genuine expression. "Both." As they worked, Harrison's phone rang repeatedly with business calls. After the fifth interruption, Victoria gave him a pointed look. "The Preston merger can't wait," he explained apologetically to Lily. "Go," she said with practiced understanding that broke his heart. "I'm used to doing things alone." Instead, Harrison silenced his phone. "They'll figure it out without me. This is more important." The shock on Lily's face was worth every dollar the delayed merger might cost. The following Wednesday, Harrison left an executive meeting early to attend Lily's physical therapy session. Her determination through painful exercises humbled him. "She's making remarkable progress," the therapist told him afterward. Yesterday, she stood supported for nearly a minute. "You didn't tell me," Harrison said to Lily on the drive home. "I wanted to be sure I could do it again," she explained pragmatically, before creating expectations. Harrison recognized his own caution in her words, the Montgomery tendency to guard against disappointment by minimizing hope. "Sometimes," he said carefully, "it's okay to celebrate progress, even if it's not perfect yet." That evening, he found Lily attempting to stand beside her bed, gripping the specially installed support bar. Her face showed intense concentration as she fought for each second of balance. Harrison stood silently, witnessing her battle. When she finally sank back into her wheelchair, exhausted but triumphant, he stepped forward. 5 seconds longer than yesterday, he noted, having timed it discreetly. "Not enough," Lily said, frustration evident. "Every second is a victory," Harrison countered, kneeling to meet her eyes. "And Lily, I'm proud of you. Not because of how long you stood, but because you keep trying." She studied him with Edward's perceptive gaze. "You never used to say things like that, did you?" "No," Harrison admitted. "I was too busy counting other things, money, acquisitions. But I'm learning what really counts. And this accessible design allows children of all abilities to play together," Lily explained to the judges at Westbrook Academy's STEM fair. Her architectural model, a playground with innovative ramps, transfer stations, and sensory elements, stood impressively on the display table. Harrison watched from a distance, resisting the urge to step in when a judge asked a challenging question. Lily handled it expertly, explaining the physics behind her swing system designed for wheelchair users. "You've created quite the independent young lady," Mrs. Wilson remarked, standing beside him. "She was already independent when I found her," Harrison replied. "I'm just giving her better tools." The Montgomery investment executives had been shocked when Harrison blocked Thursday afternoons permanently on his calendar for standing appointment, non-negotiable. The old Harrison never would have prioritized a school event over quarterly projections. When the judges moved to the next exhibit, Lily caught Harrison's eye and gave a small thumbs up. Her confidence had grown remarkably in 2 months. Later, that evening, as they celebrated Lily's second-place ribbon with ice cream, Harrison received an urgent call from Catherine. "James Parker's brother has surfaced," she reported. "He's filing for custody, claiming blood relation." Harrison felt the floor drop beneath him. "Parker had no siblings. We checked thoroughly. Half-brother, apparently. Mark Evans. He's claiming he just discovered Lily's situation through media coverage." After ending the call, Harrison found Lily in her room, examining her father's architectural drawings. "Did I have other family?" Harrison asked carefully. "On your adoptive father's side?" Lily considered this. "Dad mentioned a half-brother once. They weren't close. Mom said he was trouble." "Why didn't you mention him before?" Lily shrugged. "I barely remembered him. He never visited or anything." Harrison nodded, mind racing. "Lily, this half-brother has come forward. He's asking about you." "Does he want me to live with him?" Lily's voice sharpened. "He's making inquiries," Harrison said carefully, watching her reaction. Lily's fingers tightened around her pencil. "I don't want to leave. I'm a Montgomery now." The simple declaration warmed Harrison's heart while strengthening his resolve. The next morning, Marcus presented his findings on Mark Evans: 3 DUIs, sporadic employment, and significant gambling debts. He approached several tabloids before filing, Marcus reported, asking what they'd pay for his story. Harrison's expression hardened. "He's looking for money, not family." Almost certainly, Catherine arranged a meeting with Evans and his attorney, a storefront lawyer with an ill-fitting suit and hungry eyes. "My client has a legitimate blood relationship to the child," the lawyer began. "And no relationship beyond that," Harrison countered evenly. "No previous involvement in her life, no support during her homelessness." Evans leaned forward. "Look, Montgomery, we all know you've got more money than God. My niece deserves some of that Montgomery fortune." "This isn't about Lily at all, is it?" Harrison stated coldly. "50,000 and I walk away," Evans proposed bluntly. "Small change for you." "You're right about one thing," Harrison replied, standing. "I do have considerable resources. Enough to ensure anyone attempting to exploit my niece for financial gain regrets it thoroughly." After they left, Catherine raised an eyebrow. "That was direct." "I won't have Lily used as a pawn," Harrison said firmly. "Investigate every aspect of his life. Find leverage." That evening, Harrison helped Lily with her physical therapy exercises at home. As she struggled to maintain balance between parallel bars, she suddenly asked, "Is that man going to take me away?" "No," Harrison promised, supporting her weight as she took a tentative step. "You're staying right here." "How can you be sure?" Harrison met her eyes. "Because family isn't just about blood, Lily. It's about who stands beside you when you're struggling, who helps you take the next step, however small." As if illustrating his point, Lily took another wobbling step forward, her longest unaided distance yet. Harrison paced his office, reviewing the documents Marcus had compiled on Mark Evans. The man's history revealed a pattern of failed get-rich-quick schemes and abandoned responsibilities. "He's approached 3 more tabloids," Marcus reported, offering exclusive insights into the Montgomery family. Harrison's jaw tightened. "And the court date?" "Next Tuesday." Catherine believes his claim is weak, but any custody battle creates uncertainty. After Marcus left, Harrison found himself staring at the photograph on his desk. Lily at her STEM fair, proudly displaying her ribbon. The pride in her eyes had nothing to do with the award and everything to do with Harrison standing beside her. That evening, as they shared dinner, Harrison noticed Lily's unusual quietness. "Everything all right?" he asked. "The kids at school are talking about the newspaper stories," she said, pushing food around her plate. "About that man wanting to take me away." Harrison set down his fork. "Lily, I need you to understand something. This situation with Mark Evans, it's not about you, it's about money." "I know," she said with that disconcerting adult perception. "He doesn't really want me." The sadness in her voice broke something in Harrison. "But I do," he said firmly, "and I will fight for you with everything I have." Later that night, unable to sleep, Harrison found himself in Edward's old room, now converted to a study. He opened his brother's journal, seeking connection. An entry from shortly before Edward's death caught his attention. "H thinks I'm irresponsible. Maybe I've been, but things are changing, I'm changing. If only he could see beyond his spreadsheets to what really matters." Harrison closed the journal, facing a truth he'd avoided for too long. He'd always believed Edward needed to become more like him, structured, disciplined, focused. Now he realized he'd needed to become more like Edward, open-hearted, authentic, present. The courtroom was packed on Tuesday. Evans sat with his attorney, attempting respectability in a borrowed suit. Harrison and Catherine sat with quiet confidence. Lily between them, Victoria directly behind. Judge Williams studied the pleadings carefully. "Mr. Evans, you're claiming guardianship based on your relationship as half-brother to James Parker, correct?" "Yes, Your Honor. Blood family should raise. Blood family. Yet records indicate you had no contact with Lily for the past 9 years. I didn't know where they were," Evans claimed. "My brother and I had differences." Harrison's attorney presented evidence of Evans' tabloid negotiations and gambling debts. When Evans' attorney attempted to object, Judge Williams raised her hand. "I've heard enough about Mr. Evans' motivations," she said. "Lily, would you join me in my chambers again?" When they returned, Lily wheeled directly to Harrison's side. "Having considered all evidence," Judge Williams began, "I find Mr. Evans's petition without merit and potentially harmful to Lily's best interests. The permanent guardianship granted to Harrison Montgomery remains in effect." Evans stormed out, his attorney trailing behind. "Well done," Victoria murmured to Harrison. "It was the right outcome," he replied. "But not a victory I take pleasure in. No child should discover they have family who sees them only as a commodity." That evening, Harrison found Lily on the terrace watching the city lights. "You didn't have to go to court today," she said unexpectedly. "You could have just paid him to go away." Harrison sat beside her. "Yes. The old you would have done that. Solved it with money. The old me wouldn't have brought you home from that coffee shop," Harrison acknowledged. "Some things can't be solved with money, Lily. Some things are worth fighting for properly." "Like family," she said softly. "Exactly like family." As the city glittered below them, Harrison realized how profoundly Lily had changed him. She'd taught him that real strength wasn't measured in financial statements or corporate acquisitions, but in the courage to open your heart when everything in your past urged you to keep it closed. 6 months had passed since the courtroom victory. Spring had arrived, bringing new beginnings to the Montgomery household in more ways than one. Harrison stood in the doorway of Lily's bedroom, watching as she carefully balanced on her crutches. The physical therapist had introduced them last week, and Lily had practiced relentlessly ever since. "You're getting stronger," Harrison observed, entering when she noticed him. 3 minutes today," she reported proudly. "Dr. Bennett says my progress is exceptional, like everything else about you," Harrison replied, the affection in his voice no longer foreign or uncomfortable. Lily's room had transformed from its initial elegant but impersonal state. Now architectural drawings covered the walls, interspersed with photographs and school certificates. A model of her award-winning accessible playground design sat on her desk, alongside engineering textbooks far beyond her grade level. "Mrs. Wilson says breakfast is ready," Harrison said. "Something special today." In the kitchen, they found Mrs. Wilson standing proudly beside a cake adorned with a single candle. "What's this?" Lily asked, settling into her chair. 6 months. Since the guardianship became permanent, Mrs. Wilson explained. I thought it deserved recognition. Harrison felt a lump in his throat. 6 months, that had changed everything. We've received 5 inquiries about Lily's playground design, Victoria announced, entering with a folder. She'd taken to visiting for breakfast twice weekly, gradually becoming part of their unconventional family unit. From real companies? Lily asked, eyes widening. Very real, Victoria confirmed. The Inclusive Design Initiative at Montgomery Investments wants to incorporate your concepts into their community development projects. Harrison watched the exchange with quiet satisfaction. Victoria had surprised everyone by championing the company's new community-focused division. She'd found her own purpose beyond simply accumulating wealth. That afternoon, Harrison left work early for Lily's school concert. Walking through the lobby, he overheard 2 executives. Montgomery's gone soft, one muttered. All this community outreach cuts into profits. Actually, Harrison interjected, causing both men to jump. First quarter returns show our socially responsible investments outperforming traditional portfolios by 7%. Turns out doing good can be good business. The old Harrison would have fired them on the spot. The new Harrison simply smiled politely and continued toward the elevator. At Westbrook Academy, he found himself surrounded by parents he now knew by name, a stark contrast to the isolated existence he'd once maintained. After the concert, Lily introduced her friend Sophie, whose father used a prosthetic leg after a military injury. Lily's been helping design modifications for our house, Sophie's mother explained. She has quite the engineering mind. She comes by it honestly, Harrison replied, pride evident in his voice. That evening, as Harrison helped Lily with her math homework, she suddenly asked, Do you ever miss your old life? Harrison considered the question seriously. What specifically do you think I might miss? The freedom. Not having to worry about school concerts and physical therapy appointments and what to make for dinner. That wasn't freedom, Harrison replied, after a moment. It was emptiness disguised as independence. He looked around the living room, now filled with evidence of Lily's presence. Books, adapted game controllers, a half-completed puzzle on the coffee table. This is messier, he acknowledged. More complicated, but infinitely better. Lily studied him with those perceptive eyes. You've changed. I needed to, Harrison said simply. Later, after Lily had gone to bed, Harrison sat on the terrace with a rare glass of scotch. The New York skyline glittered before him, the empire he'd once thought was the measure of his success. Now he understood that his real legacy wasn't in the buildings bearing the Montgomery name, but in the child sleeping down the hall who carried the Montgomery spirit of determination and vision toward a future he could only begin to imagine. Are you ready? Dr. Bennett asked, standing at one end of the parallel bars while Harrison waited at the other. Lily nodded, determination etched on her face. Today marked 1 year since her first physical therapy session. 1 year of pain, persistence, and slow progress. Remember, Dr. Bennett cautioned, just a few steps. Don't push too hard. Lily gripped the bars, lifted herself from the wheelchair, and took her first tentative step without crutches. Then another. Each movement deliberate, focused. Harrison held his breath, seeing Edward's determination in every line of her body. When she reached him, legs trembling with effort, he caught her in a gentle embrace. You did it, he whispered. 3 steps, she said, her voice mixture of exhaustion and triumph. Still a long way to go. Every journey begins with a single step, Harrison replied, sounding nothing like the cynical businessman he'd once been. The next morning, Harrison called an emergency board meeting. The directors assembled, expressions wary. His recent decisions, prioritizing family, restructuring the company toward social responsibility, had made them nervous. Gentlemen, ladies, Harrison began, today I'm announcing the creation of the Parker Montgomery Accessibility Initiative. He unveiled plans to allocate $30 million toward developing inclusive architecture and accessibility innovations, with Lily's playground design as the flagship project. This isn't charity, Harrison emphasized. It's sound business. 20% of Americans have disabilities. Their families represent trillions in spending power. We're not just doing good, we're expanding our market. Victoria, now Executive Director of Community Development, nodded approvingly. That afternoon, Harrison took Lily to Queens Cemetery. It was their first visit to James and Rebecca Parker's graves. "Are you sure you're ready?" Harrison asked as they approached the simple headstones. Lily nodded, clutching a bouquet of lilies. "They gave me everything they could. They should know I'm okay now." As Lily placed flowers on the graves, Harrison stood respectfully distant, giving her privacy. Eventually, she beckoned him closer. "Mom, Dad," she said softly. "This is Harrison. He's taking good care of me." The simple introduction touched Harrison deeply. After a moment of silence, he spoke. "Thank you for loving her," he said to the headstones, "for raising such an extraordinary daughter. I promise to honor the foundation you built." On the drive home, Lily was quiet, processing the emotional visit. "You know what I realized?" she finally said. "I've had 3 fathers. James Parker chose to love me as his own. Edward Montgomery never knew me but gave me life and talents. And you," she looked at Harrison, "you chose me when you didn't have to." Harrison swallowed the lump in his throat. "Best decision I ever made." That evening, Mrs. Wilson prepared a special dinner to celebrate Lily's walking milestone. Victoria joined them, bringing a small cake. As they ate, Harrison found himself studying the faces around his table. Mrs. Wilson, who'd witnessed his transformation from isolated tycoon to devoted guardian. Victoria, who'd evolved from threatened heir to supportive family member. And Lily, the unexpected catalyst for it all. "I have an idea," he announced suddenly. "The summer house in Maine. We haven't used it in years. I thought perhaps we might spend August there." "All of us?" Victoria asked, surprised. "Family vacation," Harrison confirmed, the concept as new to him as to them. Lily's face lit up. "With the beach? You said it has a private beach." "We'll need to make some modifications for accessibility," Harrison acknowledged. "But yes, with the beach." Later, putting Lily to bed, Harrison noticed a drawing on her desk. Architectural plans for a beachfront house with accessibility features seamlessly integrated into the design. "For the main house?" he asked. Lily nodded sleepily. "I'm calling it Montgomery Haven, a place where everyone belongs." Harrison tucked the blanket around her, marveling at how this child had redesigned not just his home, but his heart. 1 year to the day since their first encounter, Harrison Montgomery pushed open the door to Westside Cafe. Beside him, Lily used her forearm crutches, slowly but steadily making her way to the counter. The same cashier who had once witnessed their first interaction did a double take. "Oh my goodness," she exclaimed. "Look at you walking." Lily beamed. 3 months on crutches now. "We thought we'd come for cookies," Harrison explained, his hand hovering protectively near Lily's elbow, "to celebrate our anniversary. 1 year of being a family," Lily clarified, reaching the counter. The formerly austere titan of Wall Street now wore casual clothes, his once perfect hair slightly disheveled from the wind. The transformation went far deeper than appearance. The cold, calculating eyes now crinkled with laugh lines, and his shoulders had lost their rigid posture. While Lily chatted with the cashier, Harrison recalled that rainy day 1 year ago, how close he'd come to simply walking away, how that split-second decision had altered the trajectory of his life completely. After enjoying their cookies, they strolled through the park, Lily's progress slow but determined. "Tired?" Harrison asked, as they reached a bench. "A little," Lily admitted, "but good tired." As they sat, Harrison noticed a newspaper abandoned nearby, the business section visible with the headline, "Montgomery Investments leads industry in accessible design initiative." "Victoria says the Miami project is ahead of schedule," Lily remarked, following his gaze. "My modified playground design will be installed next month." "Your father would be proud," Harrison said softly. Both your fathers. Lily nodded, fingering the locket around her neck, which now contained 3 photos. James and Rebecca Parker, Edward Montgomery, and a new edition of Harrison and Lily at her school graduation. Did you ever imagine this? She asked. That day in the cafe when you saw some kid who couldn't afford cookies? Harrison shook his head. I couldn't have imagined any of it. The changes to the company, to Victoria, to our home. To you, Lily added perceptively, especially to me. A comfortable silence fell between them as they watched children playing nearby. The papers are ready, Harrison said eventually. Catherine finalized everything yesterday. Lily's eyes brightened. So it's official? As soon as we sign, you'll legally be Lily Parker Montgomery. Not just your ward anymore, Lily said, your daughter. You've been my daughter in every way that matters for months, Harrison replied, emotion thickening his voice. The paperwork just catches up to reality. As they prepared to leave, Lily paused, looking back at the cafe. You know what I think about sometimes? How many moments in life hinge on tiny decisions. If you hadn't been in that cafe that morning, if it hadn't rained, if you hadn't had the courage to ask for help, Harrison added. We'd never have found each other, Lily finished. I think perhaps we would have, Harrison said thoughtfully. Maybe not that day or in that way, but somehow. Some connections are meant to be. That evening, standing on the terrace of what had transformed from a sterile showplace to a true home, Harrison watched as Lily and Victoria argued good-naturedly over architectural plans for the newest Montgomery Initiative project. Mrs. Wilson appeared at his side, offering a rare glass of champagne. Quite the family you've built, Mr. Montgomery. Harrison accepted the glass, contemplating the word built. He'd spent his life constructing financial empires, never realizing the most important thing he would ever build was this. A family forged not through obligation, but through choice, through love. To found families, he toasted softly, raising his glass to the Manhattan skyline. And second chances. In the golden evening light, Harrison Montgomery, once the loneliest man in New York, found himself surrounded by the riches that truly mattered.